So today are elections.
Yeah.
There's a guy running for mayor in New York City, as you know, Zoran Mandami. What are your first initial thoughts on him?
Earnestly, just heard about him last week. Seems cool. Seems young. Seems like he's getting a lot of attention from liberals, which sounds nice. But earnestly, I don't know much about his policies. Why?
Okay. So I have a few clips here. One quote that he said, "We will slowly buy up the housing on the private market and convert properties into communes." Does that sound a little bit of a communist policy?
No, I think people confuse commune with public housing. I think that commune in and of itself does not insinuate communism, but I think what he's trying to basically do is buy up private property that is excessively expensive, probably to just reduce that so that lower income families can go ahead and pay their bills, you know?
He also said he wants government-owned grocery stores. If that didn't sound communist, what about government-owned grocery stores?
That I will go ahead and commune with you, that it does
Okay.
sound a little bit more, sure, communist, but I think that communist also gets confused with socialist. So I do think that that's probably more of a socialist idea than a communist idea. But sure, I don't completely agree with that. I need to know more about what that entails, where he'd like to put them, A. B, what exactly they plan on taking out of taxes, right? I don't live in New York, so quite earnestly, I can really give a shit whether or not they're, it's not my
Yeah.
tax money.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you think something like communism or socialism can work in the U.S.?
Socialism, yes. Communism, no.
Like what kind of socialist policies would work in the U.S., you think?
I think free healthcare would be great. I am very much against free college, but I definitely do agree that there should be at least maybe vocational school that could be free. Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of free healthcare. I think that that's a socialist policy that would be able to work. I think Canada can be taken as a great example. But yeah.
Did you know in Canada, I actually know people there, but sometimes the lines to get into these hospitals,
long.
even for like an X-ray,
Yeah.
it'll take days or even months to
Yeah.
get an appointment.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. It's not that different. Like it takes about a month and a half to find out whether or not you have cancer. Same shit. I mean, if not, it's a couple weeks more, but at the very least, you're not paying 10,000 grand out of pocket, and you're not paying back X amount of money over years, maybe, right? Like, yeah, it is certainly a waiting period longer than the U.S. probably, but all in all, I'd rather give up a couple more weeks than to go ahead and pay thousands of dollars more in debt that you probably already in debt from college, right? So, just double the debt is not always the best idea on my front, but of course, I don't think that it's something that's possible, but certainly something that I think that we can work towards.
Okay, I want to bring up one more quote Zoran Mandami said. So he said here, I'll just play you the video.
And realize there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive
Sorry.
homes in richer and realize there's an overtax.
So this is the quote he said. He wants to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to the more expensive homes in richer and wider neighborhoods.
Shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners, the outer boroughs, more expensive homes, in richer and wider neighborhoods. Okay.
Do you think that's an okay thing to say? Why did he bring up race into this?
As to why he brought up race, I don't think that's particularly great, right? But I think the point is that he wants to sort of shift where he's getting those taxes from, and I think his point was more affluent areas. But again, do I agree with the verbiage? No. But do I agree with the idea that, taxes do need to be spread out, sort of? A burden needs to be alleviated from certain people, but not to assume that everybody in that area is white, right? So I can understand where you're coming from, but yeah, no. I do agree with his idea that, you need to tax everybody equally, especially those that may be more affluent.
I mean, the tax system, people already get taxed like the same percentages, no matter what income. So
Yeah,
what do you mean by equal? What does equal even mean
So
in
what I
that
mean
sense?
by that is people like the current sitting president who go ahead and avert taxes most of the time in whatever ways that they will, whether they be business owners, whether or not they have certain enterprises that can go ahead and mask it under the table, whatever it may be. But there is certain aversions that the more affluent get that the poorer people don't get. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages to both sides, but I do understand the basis of his argument being that New York does have a large 1% that does get by doing the least amount, which is great for them, obviously, but not for the community, I assume.
Okay, and last question. What do you think of him being a Muslim and wanting to maybe implement some of these Islamic things into New York City?
What Islamic things?
One sec, let me find it.
I have no problem with him being a Muslim. That's the question.
Okay, let me ask in a more broader sense. Do you think Islam is compatible with Western values?
Probably not, but I don't think that in any way is a reflection of his policy. I think his policy is just socialist and liberal, perhaps, but I don't think that being Muslim is inexplicably a mirroring effect of Western values. I don't think he ought to also try to mirror that, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, usually people put religion first. Usually a lot of Muslims, I guess you could say they're very radical in their views, or they're very...
I don't know. Do you have any Muslim friends? I have a ton. And
No, I don't have Muslim friends. But, it says in the Quran, above anything else, their goal is to convert people to Islam.
There's the same thing in Christianity.
No, but they don't push it on to other people.
I mean, that's debatable, right? You've ever met a very extremist church, a very extremist you go back in history, to our own history, read about Protestants. It's the same idea.
What are these Christians doing nowadays?
Nowadays, I would say that, it's dependent on what particular church. It's obviously not as big of a phenomenon as it was historically, but I will say if you're comparing current day Christianity with current day Muslim people, there's certainly more of an argument that you can push onto Muslims, or a rhetoric, but I don't think it's a complete reflection of their religion to just say that because in the Quran it says that they're meant to reflect and push onto their ideals. Most Muslims I know don't really care to reflect that, and there's a lot of things in the Bible that certain Christians don't feel like they need to replicate and or push onto others. Does that make sense?
Okay, but what about Islam? Their prophet literally married a 6-year-old, and they say that's the perfect man, obviously. And when your perfect man marries a 6-year-old, do you see how that could be a slippery slope for a country like this?
In the Bible, it also says that he had several wives, right? So
yeah, but he's not the perfect man. They need to follow Muhammad to the T because he's the perfect man. They have to live and try to live their life like Muhammad.
You need to understand that people that are still Christians still use that same argument to go ahead and have, polygamous relationships in places like Utah.
Who does that nowadays?
You can go ahead and look at several documentaries in Utah, Colorado. There's a lot of that going on.
There's not. That's just a lie, though. There's not a lot of it.
You can go ahead and Google it. I'm not here to convince you, Doug. But there is certainly the same way that you're trying to draw these same loopholes and comparisons of Muslim faith and Christianity. It's not a direct reflection of every person that's Muslim. That's all I got for y'all today, though. Okay.